I'll never forget the euphoria I felt one day upon waking up on a Tuesday morning to open up an email signifying that I had gotten the job. My 4 years of college education at Baylor University had finally paid off. I was $40,000 in debt, but hey, this guy has got a big boy job. I was an insurance consultant at a prestigious insurance company. Promised a salary exceeding $100,000, unlimited paid time off, annual vacations with the company. I was convinced that I had hit the jackpot of all jobs. However, as my time with the company progressed, I began to realize things were not as they seemed. I would attend every meeting, every sales call, every company-sponsored event, often spending money out of my own pocket when I would have to travel to different states. I finally left this company after about 8 months, completely burnt out. At the time, I literally was only making like maybe a few $100 a week, if that. And after having left, I did some of my own research. I was like thinking to myself, is this normal, or am I just being a little bitch and I couldn't hang, you know? Come to find out, this company was pretty notorious for their unethical and sleazy treatment towards their employees. And the work that the bottom 98% of the people did in this company was really only advantageous for those top 2%. So it was safe to say that really the only top 2% were the ones that were benefiting from everyone else's, labor and hard work. They were the only ones that were really profiting in the end. And this was embarrassing to state at the time, but this company was really just a pyramid scheme disguised as an opportunity from Uncle Sam stating that you were the chosen one to lead the Israelites across the Red Sea. There was this initial conditioning that made you feel like you were getting an incredible opportunity and you were going to have great power and great responsibility. And what a lot of companies do, it's kind of similar to like selling a product to someone. First you create the need and you offer them the solution, right? And you make it seem like they're the ones that are actually getting the better end of the deal, but you don't want to do it too much, otherwise that might create some sort of suspicion. But if you peel back the curtains to so many of these organizations, these companies, you find that it's run by puppet masters with their words and their control so far intertwined within the minds of their subordinates. And what's really happening is just a mass coercion of people's talent that's being exploited, all for the sake of corporate greed. But yet nobody would call it this, right? That's too simple. And this is happening on a much higher scale, right? This is essentially what contemporary capitalism is evolving into. There's this dehumanization that's taking place in the workplace that only favors the top 1-2% while giving the bottom 90, 98, 99% this almost false sense of responsibility. Because you aren't paid in accordance with how hard you work, you're paid in accordance with how difficult you are to replace. In 2018, I switched industries. I joined the small private aviation company, hired in as a mission coordinator. And at the time, this company was moving from LA to Dallas, so there was a lot of transition going on. And during that time frame, they had hired in this woman who was going to be the first Black woman president in aviation. So this was like a huge deal. Ended up just kind of being a failed PR stunt, if we're just being frank. Yeah, this woman single-handedly ran our company into the ground in 2020. We filed for bankruptcy. One day in particular, however, I remember her taking one of my colleagues into one of the conference rooms, one of the meeting rooms. And a few minutes goes by and I hear shrieks, I hear screams from this woman directed at one of my peers. This goes on for a few minutes. She's just upset towards him for something, a mistake that he did, something wrong. And she walks out a couple minutes later with just the brightest grin on her face, smiling, greeting people as she's, walking away. And then as time went on, I just noticed like every interaction with her, from what I observed from other people, it looked, you could just tell that there were these ulterior motives that were being masked behind all of her charisma. But behind closed doors, it's like, man, I would watch this woman like break the souls of employees for very minor mistakes. I had a similar experience with another aviation company. My whole role was like figure out where we could save cost, maximize efficiency, yada yada yada. My direct report was to our VP, and every day I'd have a meeting with this guy. We would basically go over which clients that we were going to be able to accommodate versus the one that we were going to have to outsource through like a broker. And his question to me every day was the same. It would be, why can't we accommodate this client? In other words, why can't we make money from this person? And my answers were always the same, something along the lines of we don't have the resources. And as it was, we were already a skeleton crew, one person working 4 different jobs just because our company refused to hire people, thinking that we could all just, magically balance. It was like a circus. It was like this guy was basically like P.T. Barnum, and we were all the little performers. So what would happen is, in effort to accommodate the clients that he wanted to accommodate, we would strip time and supply away from our other clients to which we had previously agreed to fit everybody within this matrix. It was similar to hosting an event that could only hold 20 people, but you invite 30, yet each person is charged the same price. Instead of having to inconvenience 1 or 2 clients, we're now inconveniencing many clients for a negligible profit. I think a lot of people could relate to this. They feel like they're in a job, and even if they have brilliant ideas or ways that they could create a more optimal workplace environment that better suits their customers and clients, and also creates a good environment for their fellow employees and colleagues, it's so unfortunate that there are people in these places of authority that are so focused on their own selfish ambition and are driven out of their own greed, that these people who have actually really good gifting and talent, and you can have a heart for people and still make money, that's not a bad thing, but it's so unfortunate that you bring in bright employees who really do want to work hard and want to prove their worth in a way, but get trampled and stampeded on by people with fragile egos, man. The hardest part of my job was never the job itself, it was navigating the egos of my superiors. These corporate giants lining their pockets with, honest labor, ensuring that the rules are written in favor of them. And it's greed, man. It's greed, and we can have all of our speculations and rationalizations as to why those at the top are justified in receiving the portion that they do and can exhibit behavior towards their subordinates in the ways that they do. But at the end of the day, it's a selfish ambition that's run out of greed. And the world wonders why people in my generation are going their own way, starting their own business, starting their own enterprise, and becoming entrepreneurs and going against the grains of corporate America, because we want meaningful work. We want to see the fruit of our labor actually make a difference in someone's life. I'll never forget the story of actually one of my bosses at a previous job. She got married at 21. She got divorced a few years later because her husband left her for another woman. A few years later, she remarries, but then that husband gets in a car accident, dies from a drunk driver. The following year, her daughter commits suicide, and her job for about 10 years before the one that she was in now was she was an air traffic controller, which are basically people that sit in the control towers and tell airplanes what to do. As she's telling me the story, it's 10 o'clock at night, we're still in the office. And so now she's on her 3rd husband, who the week prior, as she's telling me this whole story, she had just admitted him to a mental institution because he was having these manic episodes. Her husband would call her, and just you could hear the screaming through the phone and the accusations and insults that he would hurl towards her. But she was always so calm and composed, and she would respond to his aggression with just empathy and calmness. And I watched her do this, day in and day out. On top of that, her foot, I kid you not, had been fractured for a month. She got in some accident. And so I remember asking her, I was like, how have you maintained your stability so well? And she said, I have no other option. And she said it almost smiling. And after she had done conveying her whole life story, she said to me, Alden, just get out when you can. And I took that. Her, out of all people, have an excuse to be a victim or to be angry. So anyways, I just wanted to end with a positive note, because there are people that do lead and serve from the heart. I think it would be good if we were to not let our dreams and our ambitions become derailed for the sake of our salary or what our parents want, the promises of stability and security. You give yourself over enough to the day in and day out grind of someone else's dream, and eventually you won't have a dream for yourself. So yeah, guys, that's all I got for today. I hope this helps.